Ranger Joe here. Today we're going to talk about snake appetites. And I've brought Freddie, our resident snake, along to help me out. So what do snakes eat? Well, all snakes are carnivores. That means they're meat eaters, right? We don't have any snakes that eat plants. And all snakes swallow their prey whole. So a snake like this might eat a mouse, and he can swallow something twice as wide as his head. That'd be like you trying to swallow a Thanksgiving turkey whole. It's impossible. So how does a snake do it? Well, first, open your mouth as far as you can open it. When you do that, you can probably only open it, say, about 45 degrees or so. And that's because your lower jawbone, this one bone here, is connected right here to your skull. And so there's just this one hinge point, and that's what sort of prevents you from opening your mouth farther than that. Well, snakes have an extra bone in there, in between their jawbone and their skull. So look here, here's a snake's skull. Here's the lower jawbone. And on us, this jawbone would be connected right here. But on snakes, it's got this extra bone in there. And so what that bone does is it gives them two different hinge points and allows them to open their mouth much wider than we can. In fact, some snakes can open their mouth almost 180 degrees. So let's try a little experiment here. Go find a stuffed animal. Something about this size. This is going to be our prey. This is what we're going to have for lunch today. Also, get a couple rubber bands. First, we're going to try it without the extra bone. So put your hands together like this. This lower one's going to be like your lower jawbone. This one here is going to be like your upper jaw, your skull. And connect your thumb and your pinky finger, like this right here. And so that's your hinge point. And you'll notice it doesn't allow us to open it very far. You've got to hold on there. In fact, if you've got a friend, you can have them sort of tape those together. And let's try to see if we can swallow this frog without letting go or without breaking that tape. So you grab him with your teeth, and you're starting to pull him back in, and he's not going to fit because we can't open it up any more than that. So now, these rubber bands are going to be like the extra bone. So put it over your pinky and over your thumb. Put your lower jawbone in there and see how it's connected. And now let's try it. Look, we can open it a whole lot more now, where we can grab that prey animal and we can push them down in there, and it's easier to fit them in your mouth. And so that's how snakes are able to swallow something twice as wide as their head with no problem at all. And also when they do that, right, they don't have hands, right, where they can push it in there. They don't chew it up. So how do they swallow it? Well, when their mouth is full, their lower jawbone is actually two different bones. Ours is just one, but theirs is two different bones. And right here in the middle is a piece of cartilage, sort of like your nose or your ear, right? So it's flexible. And so what happens is when they get their mouth full, their teeth are pointed back towards their stomach. And so if a prey animal's in there, they've got a hold of it, and what they can do is they can drop one side at a time, sort of push it out, grab it, and then pull it back in. And then they do the other side, and they can sort of seesaw their lower jaw back and forth to pull that prey animal down in and swallow it. And so that's what snakes do. So how do they find their food? Well, a snake like Freddie here, he's got a good sense of smell. You can see he keeps sticking that tongue out, and that's sort of how he senses the air around him, and he can smell things. And so they use their sense of smell to find their food. Other snakes, like the black racer, has big eyeballs, and they can see really well. And so they use their sense of sight more to find their prey. And then other animals, like our pit vipers, the venomous snakes, they've got this infrared pit where they can actually see heat with that. And so they use that to help find their prey. Once they get it, how do they subdue their prey? Well, a lot of snakes, they grab it, so they'll bite it, and they hold on while they slowly swallow that prey animal. Other snakes, like this corn snake here, Freddy, he is what we call a constrictor. You'll see he can wrap his body around me. He's got strong muscles in his body. And so snakes like this, along with, say, black rat snakes and king snakes, when they bite their prey, they wrap their body around it, and then they squeeze it to death, and then they swallow it. And then other snakes, like those venomous snakes we have, the pit vipers, they've got fangs. You can see on this skull here, you can see those fangs. And they inject venom into their prey. And that will paralyze their prey. And then once their prey is paralyzed, then they go find it and can swallow it. So that's how they subdue their prey. And then we've got snakes. There's sort of two groups of snakes based on what they eat. And some snakes are called generalist. That means they'll eat just about anything they can find, right? And one of those snakes are king snakes or black racers. They're known to eat small mammals, birds, reptiles, frogs, and amphibians, things like that. So they're known to eat just about anything. And then there's other snakes that are known as specialists. And one of my favorites is the eastern hognose snake. He's a specialist, and his favorite meal are toads. Now, these snakes, along with what they eat, also have several different adaptations that help them. So those king snakes I talked about, the reason they're called king snakes is because they eat other snakes. And in fact, they can eat venomous snakes, and they're completely immune to their venom. There's a little bitty snake called the southeastern crown snake, and he eats centipedes, which are also venomous. And so he's immune to their venom. Other snakes, like that hognose snake, he eats those toads, and toads are known to blow up with air as a defense mechanism. And so the hognose snake has these special teeth further back in its mouth that are a little bit longer, and they're especially made for popping toads when they blow up with air. And then snakes like the mud snake or the worm snake, their tail is different. So see this corn snake, he's sort of got this long, sort of skinny tail right here. Well, that mud snake and the worm snake, they got a much shorter tail that's sort of got a spike on the end. And they can stab it in the ground and they hold on. And they sort of stabilize themselves while they're wrestling their prey. So you can see these snakes have several different things that help them to eat the way that they do. So when you get hungry and it's time to eat, think about snake appetites.